It's time to say it. Keyonte George's development is real, and it changes everything about the Jazz and the future. It's next on an Ask LOJ edition of Locked on Jazz.
You are Locked on Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network. Your team every day.
How are you? I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. This is Locked on Jazz. It's your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz, giving you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. Thank you so much for making Locked on Jazz your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked on the #1 sports podcast network. On today's edition, it's a Friday. That means it's Ask LOJ. You're driving the questions. We will get to some interesting questions about the future of Trae Young, Zion Williamson, and Ja Morant. We'll get to some interesting questions about what is the Utah Jazz next piece. Taylor Hendricks, Kyle Filipowski, Cody Williams all have questions about their play recently and what the Jazz next steps are. That plus how many steps does Will Hardy take in a game? I don't know, but we'll try to get to it. I'll try to find that question out for you because he's a pacer, they say. But we start this show on today's edition about the emergence of Keyonte George. Let me say, today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. All right, let's get to your questions. You guys are great. I super appreciate it. By the way, thanks to all the people who are sending me Spotify Wraps. Hold on to those because Monday we got a major announcement coming for everydayers. And if you have a Locked on Jazz Spotify Wrapped and we're in your group, we've got something for you. So stay tuned for that. First question of the day. How much does Keyonte's development change the Utah Jazz route? Oh, I think this is massive. Let's even go to yesterday's show about the Lauri Markkanen trade. So one of the things that everybody had talked about was the fact that the Jazz would trade Lauri Markkanen for the idea of getting Jaden Ivey. Well, you would only do that trade you could do that trade if you think Jaden Ivey and Keyonte George were together. But there is a level where if the Jazz had felt that Keyonte George was not developing and not going to be able to develop, that then the Jazz probably had to make a deal to trade Lauri Markkanen to go get more pieces. If we were suddenly sitting here in February, let's say we were sitting here in February and Keyonte was still shooting 39% from the field and 30% from three. Well, then all of a sudden you're going to set as a Jazz front office, you're looking like, okay, wait, he might not be a piece, right? So we talked about all off season that Keyonte either was going to be Bones Hyland, Jared Bayless, or CJ McCollum. He's heading towards CJ McCollum. So let's say that he was Jared Bayless or Bones Hyland. He's not a piece. Well, now all of a sudden we're looking at the cupboard and we're like, okay, we got Walker. We got Lauri. Ace is going to be here eventually. Oh, crap. We got nothing else. Like, if that's how we were looking at then you really might have to say, oh, we're backing this train back up a decent amount. And we got to trade Lauri because we need to go get, let's just use the most commonly talked about, Detroit. We need to go get Ron Holland. We need to go get Jaden Ivey. We need to go get another draft picks. We need more pieces in our cupboard to try to see. But if you have Keyonte George as a bona fide starter in the NBA, maybe even a top 10 guard in the NBA, then that changes how you look at everything. Now you're looking, if you're looking to make any deal or free agency, how do they complement Keyonte? How do they play off Keyonte? What is the aspect of how they fit there? Because if you believe Keyonte's legit, which really more in every sign is showing that this kid is coming together, this is going to turn out be a fabulous draft pick by the Utah Jazz on a draft which was well done. I always think there's a dividing line in every draft. In a draft which was well done by the 16th pick. But right now, Keyonte's averaging 23 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists. And the one thing I would say on some of this is that we don't have a lot of other scorers. So some of these numbers are inflated just because of the fact that someone has to do it. But he's now doing it by going to the free throw line 7 times a game. He's still taking 6 threes a game. He's up to 30. He's right at his career average right now. He needs to be better than a 34% three-point shooter. I think he will be. I don't really have any doubt on that. He's gone from shooting 39% to shooting 44%. We played 20 games. This is real. This is a massive development. This season, by the way, and we'll talk about this. As of right now, we're 20 games into the season. This is a huge success. The only thing about this season that's not a great success, frankly, is our draft position. Like, that is truly what I would tell you right now is the only thing about this season that's not an incredible success is the fact that we're nervously sitting here worrying about our draft position and because of the protections on the Oklahoma City pick. But otherwise, Lauri's reemerged. Keyonte has emerged. Keyonte was not an established NBA player when this year started. Now he's established starting guard in the NBA. Ace looks to be the whole deal. And now we just have to, like, if there's other little successes, and then we're trying to see if any of the other young kids are ready at some point. But let's remember, Keyonte wasn't, and Walker's injury is also a non-success. It's obviously super unfortunate. But we do know that Walker can play. So, yeah, Keyonte's emergence changes everything on how the Jazz view it, what Lauri's role is with us with the future, because now you look at Lauri combined with Keyonte and you're looking to add pieces, how Walker, all of it changes. It's awesome. If the Jazz have Keyonte, Lauri, Walker, and Ace as core starters and want to bring in another high draft pick next year, how do you plan to use their cap space? Well, I mean, there are not a lot of free agents that are particularly exciting. There's one or two. And I think we can. I'll have to look at it. We have to move some things. But I do believe we could get to a full max offer to someone. So then you have to decide, is there a full max offer of someone out there? Which actually leads to our next question. You've mentioned Austin Reaves a few times. Do you think he would ever leave Los Angeles? Okay. So, I mean, we did points gained yesterday, and Austin Reaves was like number 3 or number 4 in the league. 2 years ago, Austin Reaves was the number 1 pick and roll guard in the NBA. The 3 or 4 games this year without Luka Doncic and LeBron James, Austin Reaves was great. There's a real chance that Austin Reaves, despite his defensive liabilities, is a bona fide number 1 or number 2 option on an NBA team. Just that good on the pick and roll, that good a player, undrafted, kind of crazy. Maybe you're stretching it too far. But we also probably have to overpay for our next free agent. I think there is an argument you make a run at Austin Reaves. I'd have to really sit down with someone who understands the cap, understand what's possible. But I do think that Austin Reaves is the most appealing free agent. And a team of Keyonte George, Austin Reaves, Ace Bailey, Lauri Markkanen, and Walker Kessler gets interesting. With a bench draft pick this coming year, hopefully 1 or 2 of our young players develops into a bench role. Maybe you sign an 8th player somewhere in there. Svi Mykhailiuk is shown he's a rotation player. Yusuf Nurkic has shown you've suddenly got a team. I don't know how far it goes, but it's interesting. It's a setup, frankly. A Keyonte George, Austin Reaves, Lauri Markkanen group is a setup to go when Ace Bailey and whoever we draft this year, if we get a good draft pick, are ready to go. That's the model, right? Those are your 3 players, but the real thing is when Ace Bailey goes and when, if you get a good draft pick this year, goes, that's the answer. It won't be based on whether Austin Reaves, Keyonte George, and Lauri Markkanen are good enough to carry you. It'll be when is Ace Bailey in year 3 ready to be a top 10 MVP candidate like Jason Tatum was? Is whoever we draft in year 3, which is Ace Bailey's year 4, ready to join Ace Bailey as an MVP level candidate? That's how this would happen. But that's beginning to piece this thing together. Do I think Austin Reaves is that good? Maybe. I'm leaning more and more that direction. He's been a factor of playing with LeBron and Luka most of the time. But like last night, Luka doesn't play and Austin Reaves drops 44 on 13 of 21 shooting, going to line 15 times. It was also against Jacoby Walter and Emmanuel quickly but I'm sure they put Scott. I didn't see the game. I'm sure they put Scotty Barnes on him at some point. Yeah, maybe. Yes. I am more and more all in on Austin Reaves. The question was asked, though, which I did not answer. You've mentioned Austin Reaves a few times. Do you think he would ever leave Los Angeles? The question is, Austin Reaves is in LA. He is playing second fiddle to Luka Doncic for the rest of his career. And maybe that's all right. That'd be a lot of fun. And maybe LA is awesome for the Oklahoma kid. On the other end, he comes to Utah. He's the show. He's the show. It's Austin Reaves is the lead dog, and he gets his 21 to 24 shot attempts every night in Utah. So James Harden goes to Houston. Same concept. These guys usually want their team. So, yes, I think there's a possibility that Austin Reaves would leave Los Angeles. The money would be probably, depending what LA is willing to do, you're going to have to max it out to every cent you can. Are you relying? Is he? Maybe. It gets fast. That's how this thing accelerates quickly. Cody Williams, Walt Clayton, Taylor Hendricks, Kyle Filipowski, all bringing us questions about what they're doing and how they're playing next on Locked on Jazz. Friday edition of Locked on Jazz is brought to you by Murdoch Hyundai, located 46 South State Street, also in Logan and in Linden. The Murdochs have been in Utah for over 90 years. Hyundai, great lineup of cars. I'm driving the Santa Fe right now. It's terrific. We've bought the Ioniq 5 and the Ioniq 6. My dad has the Ioniq 6. I have the Ioniq 5 as my primary car when I'm driving it. Each of my kids got a Santa Fe. I'm telling you, there's nothing I'm telling you other than the truth, that when I did the work and looked at it and got to know the Murdochs and knew I could deal with the Murdochs, knew I could get the bells and whistles, knew I got what I get out of Hyundai, it was a no-brainer for me. If you're in the market for a car today, give us an email. Send me an email, dlock09@gmail.com. I'll set you up with a Locked On VIP meeting over at Murdoch Hyundai, located in Linden and in Logan and in Murray. Tell me which location you want to go to. We'll get you that meeting. Email me today at dlock09@gmail.com. And if you're in the market for a car, just do me this. Take a look at the Hyundai. You decide if you like it, and look at what you get for the dollar, and then you decide. Sometimes you just don't like. I remember there was a brand. It's a competing brand, so I shouldn't say it. Where I'd done all the research. There was no question it was the right brand to buy. And then at the last second, I was like, yeah, I don't like the way it looks, and I'm not going to be happy driving it. And so I went and bought actually spent a bunch more money, not a bunch more, and bought the nicer version of it because I realized that's the car I liked. And we had it for a long, long time. It was a great deal. So it's up to you. That's my point. But you should at least look at the Hyundai. Stop by Murdoch Hyundai. Email me first at dlock09@gmail.com. Today's show is also brought to you by DoorDash. DoorDash, the season's heating up, and the DoorDash has you in your bag for the whole way. Whether you're watching highlights, the tunnel fits, or just your favorite player, DoorDash makes the entire season more fun because every player has their bag, and with DoorDash, fans have one too. DoorDash keeps your snacks stocked, your gear fresh, and your watch party vibes absolutely on point. There are nights when your team stresses you out, so let DoorDash become the post-game therapy. Those late-night interviews hit, and suddenly you need chips at midnight. DoorDash is built for that. From tip-off to overtime, stay in your bag and order on DoorDash. Get snacks, drinks, gear, whatever gets you through the season, delivered right to your door. DoorDash, in your bag all season long. That's DoorDashingYourBag.com. DoorDashingYourBag.com. Thanks so much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. And thank you for everybody who's sending the raps. Send me your raps. I love it. I appreciate it. Thank you. God, you guys are amazing. Just totally incredible. All right, let's get back to your questions. Ask LOJs are always the most fun days. I thought how much better is Kyle Filipowski than he was last year? Oh, this was a great question that I prepped it. Do you guys realize that Kyle Filipowski's numbers are literally the exact same this year as they were a year ago? Literally the exact same. I do think he's better. But here's his numbers. He's playing 21.6 minutes. He played 21.1. He took 7.2 shots. He's taking 7. He's hitting 35%, 2.2% of his threes. He hit 35 last year. He is taking 2.4 free throws. He was taking 2. He's getting 6.1 rebounds. He was getting 6.1 rebounds. He's getting about a 0.6 more assists a game, turning it over the exact same. Here's why I think he's better. Two areas where I think Kyle is better this year. One, I think his offseason work, lateral movement, I think he's holding his own a little bit better defensively. He had 1 or 2 tough moments last night, but he did a pretty good job, a better job the other night on Durant. I think he's learning the game defensively. So I think he's better in that regard. I think he knows some of his weaknesses better than a year ago. Now, I think he has to solve these weaknesses. But right now at the rim, he's only 18 of 31, which last year he was taking about 2.5 shots a night at the rim. And this year he's taking about 1.5 shots a night at the rim. And what I think that is his realization that he doesn't elevate enough to get those shots off around the basket. Now he worked on it in the offseason. He told us that he looked at Luka and Jokic and how these guys do things, and he hasn't quite figured it out yet, clearly, because he's only shooting. He's 18 of 31 at the rim, so he's in the 13th percentile. So that's not great. He's got to figure that out. And then his floater game, which, again, he took about 2 a game last year, and he's taking maybe about the same 1 or 2 a game this year, is off by a little bit. But he's actually what I'm seeing is he's taking fewer of these shots than he did a year ago. And to me, that's a sign that he understands that it's not maybe in his strength. And what I'm seeing from that is that's where the extra assist is coming from. He's getting in that situation, and then he's passing out to 3-point shooters right now. And so I think he has gotten better at that recognition of what he can and can't do. The only thing I would say on that is I do think that he needs to eventually figure that out. But that's fine. Like, do that in year 3 and year 4. I do think he has to figure that out. Do you think Walter Clayton is about to take Isaiah Collier's minutes? Well, they've both been able to play here without one taking the other's minutes. So it's an interesting, like the question, the premise of the question, which is that if Walt Clayton plays, Isaiah Collier doesn't play. I'm not sure I can totally concur with. So let me just say that. But yes, if you want to put that as let me phrase it this way. Walter Clayton's last 3 games after he got out of like the rookie haze, 2 games against Houston and last night against Brooklyn. And let's just see if this lasts a little bit longer. But the way he's played his last 3 games, he's played about 22 minutes a night. If he continues to play at that level, do I think Walter Clayton will increase beyond 22 minutes at some point? Yes, I do. Now that's, and then if Walter Clayton increases over 22 minutes at some point, where do those minutes come from? Fair enough. So right now, Walter Clayton's playing 22 minutes a night the last 2 nights, and I think that's a pretty good number for him. I'm not sure he needs more. Now, in fairness, Isaiah didn't play very much last night, so maybe we saw it last night. Maybe if Walter Clayton's going to play 22 minutes, Isaiah Collier drops to 15, and that's literally exactly what you're talking about. In the win over the Rockets the other night, when I thought Walt was really good in that game, Walt played 21 minutes, and Isaiah only played 12. So maybe in the last 2 games, actually, what you're asking has actually just happened. So, yeah, we're seeing in the last 2 games that Walter's playing 22 and Isaiah's playing 12. And if we are just deciding that 34 minutes is for them to fight over, then yes, I don't know that I think that that's actually the relationship entirely. Do I think Walter Clayton jumps more than 22 minutes a night at some point here? Would be the next question. Not until March or April. Maybe, but I don't think so until March or April. Will Cody Williamson be an NBA player in 2 years? Had zeros in every stat except for a foul and 2 untimely turnovers last night. That turnover last night was really bad. There are, I mean, let's just be totally honest. Like, there are no signs right now that Cody Williams is like on his way to breaking through. Like, let's just like be completely honest. But I don't think we can be judging him night to night at this point. Like, there has to be, he goes to the G League, he plays a bunch, he gains some confidence, he improves some skills, he continues to gain his strength, and he can find a way to use his strengths, which is a really good 1-foot jumper, a pretty good burst athletically, a nice defensive player. He's got to get, like, does he have the dog in him to be a great defensive player? All of those things are not happening. Like tonight against New York, Cody's not suddenly playing 19 minutes looking totally different, and we're going to suddenly break through and be like, oh, Cody Williams is okay. It's going to have to be a pretty long route here, and really, last year was such a zero for him, and he was physically so overmatched that really we are probably waiting until any signs beginning next year. Like, I just don't think you're going to see little tiny things could happen for Cody this year would be terrific. And it would be massively important to his development. But I don't think we're seeing it in one night. So like the concept of I'm taking that turner was terrible last night. But he was bad last night. That's it. Like, we're going to have a lot of bad still. Hopefully there's little signs and they start to piece together and you begin to have pieces that he can build off in the offseason. And you also now seen, like, Keyonte puts in the work and gains the confidence from it. Kyle puts in the work and gains the confidence from it. Let's see if Cody can continue to put in the work and gain some confidence from it. Let them work. How is Taylor supposed to develop with 7 minutes tonight? Oh, we're just blatantly getting right into our young guys aren't playing enough. Let's just give Taylor grace. Taylor is hopefully going to play more as the year goes on. Again, I think the G League's a great spot for him to go get those 25, 30-minute runs and have his body try to play 25 or 30 minutes a night. And let him, again, same kind of concept, develop skills, put it together. But his body is really still going through it. And so in regards to Taylor and Cody, I do think the G League is going to be a very important place for them upcoming. I think the showcase is right around the corner, if I remember correctly, and that'll be great for them to be able to have those days. I'm looking over here at their schedule. They play December. They don't play again until December 9th against the Rip City Mix in Portland. I would suspect that both Cody and Taylor go play the 9th and the 11th against the Rip City Mix in Portland. I would suspect that their priority, frankly, is playing. They'll be home for the 15th and 16th of December against the Valley Sun team. I would guess that the priority for Taylor and Cody is to go play those games and play 30 minutes a night. And then I believe either the showcase happens in there or the Stars are off for a long period. I think the showcase happens right before Christmas. And I think that you send them. My priority on both Taylor and Cody would be getting 30 minutes a night in the G League. And then let's see what we have in March and in post All-Star break with the two of them. But between now and All-Star break, I'm playing those guys in the G League as much as I possibly can. What happens with Trae Young, Zion Williamson, and Ja Morant if they have negative trade value? Oh, interesting. Next on Locked On Jazz. Today's edition of Locked On Jazz is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is the official sports book of Locked On, and FanDuel is the official sports book of the NBA. So get into the action with the NBA and the NFL with FanDuel. FanDuel right now, NFL Sundays are moving fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets on as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up, And you can bet the next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, and every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast. So can you. Do I have a line for tonight's Jazz game yet? Nope. It is not. It has not come across. Well, I can find one. I was waiting. Usually I get a little update that tells me what our lines are in the over-under, and I watch them move during the day, and it's always interesting to see how darn close they are, or we just remember when they are close. Lakers Celtics, by the way, play tonight. That's a fun one for the betting public. NFL games this week, Atlanta and Seattle is the one I'll be watching most closely. The Jazz and the Knicks tonight. Knicks are a 16-point favorite over the Jazz. Wow. That is about as big a line. I wonder when the last time the Jazz were that big a dog in a game. Oh, look. That is FanDuel.com. Thanks so much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day. I greatly appreciate it. All right. What happens with Trae Young, Zion Williamson, Ja Morant if they all have negative trade value? I think there's a chance, this is crazy, that all three of them could get stretched. I don't know that Atlanta can trade Trae Young. Pending free agency, might as well let him go to free agency if Atlanta's not, like, I don't know that Atlanta gets anything for him. I don't know that Memphis can trade Ja Morant. I'm not sure how good Ja Morant is right now. He's the last player in our league on our points gained. Zion Williamson is hurt again. I think this latest string of muscle injuries on Zion Williamson is actually going to be the backbreaker to whether anyone thinks he has value. Like, there's been all these things, and now all of a sudden he's trying to get in shape, and every time another muscle goes, it's like just the body doesn't work. I think there's a chance that all three of these teams go in and stretch and use the stretch provision, which is the provision that the Bucks used on Dame Lillard on all these guys, which makes them just free agents, which frankly makes them interesting if you're a team. But taking on their salaries does not seem interesting. Now, stretching these guys is not easy. Like, Ja Morant has 39 this year, 42 the year after, and 44 the year after that. But it's a 2-year stretch. I think they might have to do it. Because I don't think they can trade Ja Morant, and I don't know that they want Ja Morant around. The New Orleans Pelicans. Zion Williamson is the exact same, 42 and 44. Same draft class, that's why. I don't know if they don't want Zion around, but he's just taking up a tremendous amount of cap space. And Trae Young is interesting because Trae Young is a restricted, or is a, what does he have, 1 year left, or is it a player option? I'll have to look at what green means. I think green means a player option for, I'm on Sport Track. And I think that he has a player option for, player option for the 26-27 season that is $49 million. Now, he declines the player option at the end of the year and just becomes a free agent, and the Hawks are out from under this and they think it's great, and they didn't give him an extension. But I'm not entirely sure that Trae Young's going to do that. I'm not entirely sure that Trae Young's getting $50 million in the open market next year. So I think there's a chance all three of these guys, and I don't know how you stretch a 1-year deal, but maybe that's even less painful. If the Jazz move off their veterans other than Lauri, Nurk, Anderson, and Love, would that deplete the team enough to get to the bottom 6 again? Losing Nurk would, if we traded Nurk, that would be a big deal. I would also say this on, like, I don't know, like, Nurk might like it. I don't know if Nurk wants to be what Nurk's future roles are, but Nurk would be a pretty good backup center moving forward. We are there. Here was the next one. Time to play the youngsters more. I do think, you said on today, so yesterday, the front office is well aware of how important it is to keep this next year's draft pick. The Jazz keep winning, and the front office doesn't seem inclined to take action. Like this, we're not there yet. The draft pick thing is real. Like, we just can't deny it. Like, let's just not put our head in the sand and ignore it. And it does. It taints being a fan. I cannot wait till it's over. Why couldn't Jazz just let OKC have the draft pick to begin with? Because trying to hold on to is going to be more damage to the franchise than giving it up in the first place. That's just not true. That's the unfortunate reality. Like, if we play all out, I don't think we're a playing team. You just lose the draft pick. Getting an asset is massively important. So that actually, unfortunately, I wish that was true. I wish more than anything in the world that what you just said there is true. But the fact is that getting a top 5 or top 7 pick is wildly important to this franchise. Wildly important. It literally is kind of the piece that goes with everything else that gets this thing to be able to jet forward. I do believe, like, if we got a good pick in next year's draft, and because of where we started the show today, the way Keyonte's developed, and Walker's a player, and Ace is coming, and you have Lauri, and you go sign somebody as a free agent, and you get this other kid, and you've learned that Svi Mikhailuk is a rotation player, maybe Yusuf is your backup center, you can always find another one, but, like, you're ready to go. Now we're on. Let's go, Will Hardy, coach. Let's go, Austin Ainge, start playing around the edges. Let's go. We're ready to go. Let's hope Cleveland and Minnesota, who are super fascinating on both ends right now, collapse in some capacity, and we're able to get another draft pick out of it that's really good. That Phoenix is a disaster at 31. We're at it. Let's go. You don't get that draft pick, super hard to let's go. But I don't know what else we do. It's kind of let's go without it anyway. So, no, unfortunately, that is not true. All right. That is Locked on Jazz today. You guys are fabulous. Hold on to your wraps. I'll have news for it on Monday if you're Locked on every day. Thanks so much for tuning in today. We will now send you the first ever 24/7 national NBA channel on YouTube, Locked on NBA. On audio, check out Locked on NBA for your second listen. Game night, every game.